Well, hello out there, ladies and gents. Thank you for tuning in and listening. We've been talking about spouses and getting married and finding the right person and all that kind of good stuff. And a question that I like to ask myself sometimes, or that should be asked when looking for that right person or being with that right person, is, are you trying to make the wrong shoes fit? Now, I mean, it's basically trying to, if you're struggling to decide if you're in the right relationship, that kind of thing. Let me tell you a little story, and we'll get to that. Last week was an interesting one for me. I returned to LA after spending a week in Chicago, mulling over a couple of conversations that I'd had with a client while I was there. Now, I asked him if I could share his story with you, not using his real name and details, of course, as I felt there were some lessons in it that would benefit you, my listeners, and even my readers. He gave me his permission to do just that. So, we'll call him Jim for the sake of this story. Now, Jim is a very fortunate guy. He's 50, fit, and financially sound. He divorced 8 years ago, has grown-up kids and a couple of young nephews that he loves as if they were his own. He owns his own business, which he built from the ground up, and which makes him a very good living. He plays golf, is passionate about cars, takes vacations in Hawaii and the Caribbean. In short, Jim lives the kind of life many of us would love to be living. But of course, something was missing, and that would be love. Jim needed to fill the space in his heart, so out and about he went to find a soulmate. He met women online, he met women offline, through dating agencies and through friends, through well-meaning matchmakers and at professional gatherings, at the theater, and even on a plane once. Jim dated some lovely women, but the problem was that none of them was perfect by Jim's standards. Jim by now was so set in his ways that he didn't know how to make room in his life for another real person, quote unquote. He had an image in his head, of his dream woman, and none of the real, emotional, flawed human people he met, which seemed to measure up to that 10 out of 10 vision of his version of perfection. And then he met her. Picture perfect, young, fresh, flawless. He fell hard. Just like those avalanches I was talking about last week. Completely, chaotically, loudly, and messily. Anyone caught in his path got swept away. She was the one. Jim moved heaven and earth to woo this delectable young lady, with the face as smooth and beautiful as a piece of fine porcelain. Well, they started dating. At first, all went well. Jim swept her off her feet with lavish dinners, trips to the spa, weekends away in Vegas, even a surprise trip to Paris. He bought her gifts, jewelry, flowers, each and every week. At first, she seemed to enjoy Jim's company as much as he did hers. They would talk intensely, laugh at each other's jokes, have fun, and of course make crazy passion. But before long, within a matter of only a few weeks actually, Jim noticed some troubling signs. She was irritable with him. She seemed distracted, bored even. She'd make excuses not to see him on certain nights, and then when she did, she wouldn't be as affectionate as before. And her demands got greater as well. She was unimpressed with one of the, carat earrings, and underwhelmed with anything that wasn't from Prada, Chanel, or some equally prestigious brand name. Jim started trying harder. More expensive gifts, more exotic trips away, a credit card with a $25,000 limit, and even a sports car. He took more time away from his business, a day here and there, and then a week or even 2 here or there. He'd go in late in the mornings, but was struggling to put his heart back in it at all. All he could think about was her, and the creeping dread that he was about to lose his dream. He started driving by her house, those evenings that he wasn't with her, snooping through her pockets when, he was with her. Jim got more desperate. She got more dismissive and disgusted with him, and the whole thing spiraled into a car wreck of a situation. Well, she left him, of course, and Jim is still paying a heavy price. Not only did he spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to buy her affection, but he let his business go downhill as well, and is now desperately trying to get back to where he was before he met her. It's going to take a long time. Lots of customers are not generous with second chances, as Jim is discovering. He let himself go as well, physically, emotionally, and mentally. His confidence is also battered. Jim found out things about himself that he really didn't like. His poor judgment, his superficiality, his almost adolescent grabbing for a girl half his age, his innate jealousy, his willingness to sacrifice his self-respect. He learned how fragile the whole facade of his life had been and how easily it could collapse. These are valuable lessons indeed, people. But I know Jim would rather never have had, to learn them in the first place. Yep, he squandered money, friendships, peace of mind, even success, chasing, vaporware, basically. Jim knows now that he was wrong-headed. He was thinking with his ego and his libido, not with his heart. That he mistook yearning for loving. He tried to make something fit that was never going to, like shoes that are just way too tight, but you keep wearing them regardless of the blisters, pain, and the ugly rubbing they give you. Because you think if you persevere, you'll finally mold those darn shoes to fit you. Yep, Jim was trying to make the wrong shoes fit. I wanted to share Jim's story with you, as it's one that, as a life coach, I see way too often in different versions and flavors. As more and more folks get divorced, a great many find themselves single and hopeful that they will get a chance to find a second love or a third, time around even. Some carry a ton of old emotional baggage. Others arrive at this place mature and confident, just like Jim did, but nearly all of them arrive with unreasonable expectations. Too many end up trying to force-fit their ideals into a too tight of a shoe. I am a great believer in soulmates. I know that when you are with the right person, it may not all be sweetness and light. You might verbally tussle with each other now and again. You may disagree on lots of things. You may enjoy different pastimes and have different ambitions. You may like different foods, have different friends, spend a lot of time apart, disagree in politics and vacations. But I also know that none of that matters as long as you share a deep mutual trust, respect, affection, and connection. In easiness and in openness, so that whenever you are together, it feels just like coming home after a long, hard trip. A sense of safeness, born of knowing that your back is covered by your best friend. A shared, quiet delight in each other that's just hard to explain and that seeps into your bloodstream, warms your heart, and that you slip on like a favorite pair of snug, soft, and comfortable slippers. If you're struggling to decide if you're in the right relationship, just ask yourself one simple question. Am I trying to make the wrong shoes fit? Thanks, guys, for listening. Last but not least, go to girlgetsmarried.com. Download the free video I have for you. It'll help you find the right mate, get the right spouse, stay in love, and figure out that thing called love. Thanks again. Bye-bye.